Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. This is the Pewter Post-Game Show where we are recapping what was a back-and-forth game, a game that made you want to jump for joy at times, and then also rip your eyeballs out and bleed unconsciously. The Bucs lost in excruciating fashion by a score of 39-37 against the Houston Texans, where there was pure elation as the Buccaneers scored with 46 seconds to go to give them the lead, only to allow the Texans, who had 2 timeouts, to march right down the field and score with 6 seconds to go. So the Bucs have now lost 4 games in a row. They have not won since coming back from the bye. It's been over a month, I think, since the Bucs have won a game. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, Scott Reynolds. And Scott, we've seen the Bucs get blown out before. We've seen them lose close games. Yeah. But this may be the worst loss in the Todd Bowles era in the 2 seasons that he's been their coach.
No doubt. This is it. This is, for Todd Bowles, what the Washington game was for Lovie Smith in 2015, when it was the collapse of the Capitol. Houston, we have a problem. Todd Bowles' defense is awful. And it starts at the top with Todd Bowles. The play calling, the execution, all of it is on him. And he is the defensive play caller. He has to own this, and he will be held accountable for this. I think this is the beginning of the end. Actually, it's not the beginning. The beginning was a couple losses ago, but this is really the proverbial beginning of the end for Todd Bowles. This is the loss that will ultimately be his undoing, unless this team goes on some miraculous winning streak, which I don't think is the case now. If you had told me, Matt and Pewter people, that the Bucs would score 37 points before the game, I would have probably bet my house that they win this game. Thankfully, I still have a house because I didn't make that bet. But 39 points given up to C.J. Stroud. What a game from this rookie quarterback. And I agree with Baker Mayfield. He doesn't look like a rookie. Okay, that's fine. He showed poise. He was everything that you want in a franchise caliber quarterback. The stat line, 30 of 42, 470 yards.
Yeah.
That is a new NFL rookie record for quarterbacks, beating Andrew Luck's record. 5 touchdowns and a perfect 147.8 quarterback rating. Baker Mayfield played a pretty good game.
Yeah.
21 of 30, 265 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he was outplayed by the rookie. And that blame goes to Todd Bowles. His defense was just not enough to pressure effectively or contain or cover. And Carlton Davis, wow, for a guy that did so much talking before this season, to have an absolute crap game. I've never seen Carlton Davis play that bad before. It wasn't all Carlton's fault. Again, it starts at the top. This is owned by Todd Bowles. This loss is on him, start to finish. And when he decided to play Ryan Neal, and we talked about this in the Pewter Game Day pregame show, and if you were tuning in, you got the news first, that Ryan Neal was going to be taken out of the lineup, and D. Delaney was going to come in on 3rd downs. And that happened. But unfortunately, what did happen was he stuck with Ryan Neal, didn't bench him completely. And Ryan Neal was the one who, in man coverage, gave up that 75-yard touchdown to Noah Brown. All right, took a bad angle, was trailing the whole play, and then had a chance to push him out on the sidelines, took a bad angle again, and allowed that touchdown. And really, Matt, that was kind of the momentum-turning play in the second half for Houston.
There are so many places to go and blame, and all the blame falls on Todd Bowles.
It does.
Like, once again, Shaq Barrett had a strip sack, and that was nice. But the problem is the outside linebackers, it's just been too few and far between. With just, yes, you want the strip sack, you want the big plays. But when Shaq makes that play, you go, oh, look, Shaq made a play. It's not like There you go, Shaq. Finally getting home because the
Yeah.
pressure is never there. It's never up. CJ Stroud's uncomfortable again. Not taking
Yeah.
anything away from CJ Stroud. He had a fantastic game, one of the best
Yeah.
games for a rookie in the history of the NFL. But how much of that was helped out by the fact that, I mean, you could be a person watching football for the first time, and you'd be like, wow, that player must be really good. He's wide open. That player must be really good too because he's wide open.
And you know, and Matt, for Todd Bowles to come out after the game and say it, and it's been a popular refrain for the head coach, you know, we had a bust. We had a bust. Listen, man, you're in charge. You're in charge of your defense. You are the defensive coordinator, right? When Todd Bowles designs his defenses, he starts with the coverage. Like, it starts there. It's not like he is all about the pass rush and blitzing. That's a little bit of a misnomer. The problems they had today were when they dropped in zone. And I don't understand the fascination with zone when you play it so much that you keep having the same result, which is giving up massively big plays. And you know, and he says, "Well, we didn't play the zone correctly. If we would have played it correctly, then we wouldn't have given up those plays." Well, I mean, okay, but your players maybe aren't best suited to play zone, or you're not teaching it correctly, right? If you're putting players in position where they're going to bust and they're going to have some lapses, that's on you as a play caller. And this is on Todd Bowles. And just in case you're wondering what the topic of tomorrow's show is going to be, and I'm going to be writing about it in my 2-point conversion column. Yes, Todd Bowles, there we go. Todd Bowles is on the hot seat. Okay? I mean, he is. There's no doubt about it. Is he going to get fired? I think he should. And I'm probably going to be calling for that in my 2-point conversion column. That's tomorrow's show at 4 o'clock. We're not going to do the whole show right now. We're talking about this game. But Matt, as it pertains to this game, when you look at what the Blazers have done in years past, the Buccaneers got off to a 3-1 start under Raheem Morris, and they lost. Actually, I think they were 4-1. And they ended up losing all of the remaining games. And Raheem Morris did not get fired till the end of the season. Same thing with Lovie Smith after he started off in 2015 with a poor performance and then had that massive halftime lead in Washington against the Redskins, as they were known at the time. I call it the collapse at the Capitol. And they lost that game. Lovie Smith got to play out the rest of the season. I don't think they're going to do an in-season firing here. But it does not seem like Todd Bowles is going to see 2024 as the Bucs head coach, unless something miraculous happens, which I don't see happening.
I mean, even that last drive, like the first freaking play, it's a wide open receiver, and like they're essentially at midfield, and I go, oh, well, worst case scenario, the Texans are in Hail Mary range, and then you're having throwbacks to a week ago when the Bucs were the ones throwing the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
And just everything from the top down, the secondary. You already said Carlton Davis having his worst game maybe of his career. Like there's no adjustment by the defense. And we've praised this team so much at times for being able to make those adjustments. And finally, the offense comes to play. We got a couple of super chats we'll get to as well. The offense finally comes to play.
Yeah.
And somehow, some way, the defense all of a sudden just goes dark. Just like nothing. Absolutely nothing. Barely any pass rush outside of Kalijah Kancey had a pretty good game, couple tackles for loss. Vita Vea got in there, but inconsistent pass rush and no coverage in the secondary. I mean, people were wide open. But let's get this.
Hold on 1 second, Matt. To your point, okay, you're talking about wide open. Remember last week, Thursday night against the Bills, the Bucs allowed 4 players on the Bills to have 65 yards receiving yards or more. Today it was 4 players with 54 yards or more. Nico Collins, okay, he was the least dangerous of the 4. Okay, he had 3 catches for 54 yards in the game's first touchdown. Okay, then you had Tank Dell, who had 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, and 114 yards, including the game winner, the game-winning touchdown. Dalton Schultz, the tight end, I didn't see this coming. 10
eviscerated.
10 catches, 11 targets, 130 yards, and a clutch touchdown again on Carlton Davis.
Big day for the tight ends.
Yeah, to put the Texans up with a lead, right, for a minute. Then the Bucs come back and score a touchdown, and then we saw Tank Dell's touchdown there. And then Noah Brown, 6 targets, 6 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown, including that 75-yarder. So 3 100-yard receivers against this Todd Bowles defense. It's absolutely atrocious.
It's quite impressive. Maybe I'll put that on most impressive. Anyway, Cali Bucks, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Appreciate everyone with these super chats that are rolling in. Cali Bucks says, curses are real. The Bucks embraced a losing history, and the fact remains 0-4 since donning the creamsicle jerseys.
It's a fact.
Abandon that jersey and logo. Yeah, I mean, this might be one of those games where you got to bury the football. I know you're talking about an old game, but you got to bury the football, maybe bury the creamsicle jerseys with it. There needs to be some type of seance, some type of anything, because you're on a 4-game losing streak. And again, you have a rookie quarterback next week with Will Levis, but then you have the 49ers again. And let's remember, the Texans have a lot of coaches from that coaching staff. From the 49ers, who, again, just whooped the Bucs defense. I don't care that the 49ers have lost 3 games in a row, and they're on a bye this week, so they're going to be coming. Well, they'll have a game next week. I can see the 49ers beating the Bucs by 30, just like the way that this team has looked. Let's keep it going, though. We got more super chats. Want to get to everyone. Mark Fisher with another $4.99 super chat says, worst call in a sea of bad calls. Why use a timeout to save 10 seconds when we have the ball to 18 with less than a minute to go? You know, that was crazy, too. Now, I didn't have the TV on, so maybe I missed something. But so Trey Palmer fumbles. Mike Evans comes up with it. And then they, reviewed it. Were the Bucs forced to call a timeout because they, reviewed it with 30 seconds left or whatever it was?
Yeah, there was going to be a 10-second runoff because I think because of the injury, I believe.
Okay.
And so, so they had the option to take the timeout to avoid the 10-second runoff. And see, the funny thing is, at the time, the play clock showed 39 seconds left. So a 10-second runoff would take it down to 29 seconds. But after the Bucs took their timeout, then the official says, put 10 seconds back on the play clock. So he changed it from 39 seconds to 49 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think the referee was actually, and I could be wrong, I've got to go back and watch it, but I want to say that there were 39 seconds left. The Buccaneers would have been, if there was a 10-second runoff, had the ball with 29 seconds left, right? Okay. So the timeout should have just kept it at 39. Yeah. So then the ref added 10 more seconds left to it, I believe. And again, I've got to go back and watch it. I'm going off my memory here, and we'll see in the chat if I'm right or wrong. But then it goes from 39 to 49 seconds left. I didn't think there were 49 seconds left. So I could have been mistaken, but it seemed to me like there was a little bit of an official error there, and they were thinking, oh, well, now we have to give Tampa Bay their 10 seconds left. But I don't think they took the 10 seconds off.
Yeah,
I think they would have taken it off, but they didn't because they used the timeout.
Right, because if they would have, if it was at 49 and they say 10-second runoff, you get it at 39 and a timeout, I would have taken that versus just have 39 and no timeout.
Yeah.
Which I think would have been better because as much, and I'm not going to knock the offense for scoring too quick with 46 seconds left, but because at the end of the day, the defense still has to get that stop. I mean, they have to score a touchdown on that. Yeah. But again, if you're going to play the clock management, if you have that timeout, maybe at the end of the day, you still want to score the touchdown, but maybe score it with a little bit less time. So the Texans have just a little bit less time to move the ball down the field, which would have been crucial in a game like this. But yeah, I was just curious about that. Appreciate the comment. We got a comment from Ryan Finnernan, $1.90, or sorry, a 99-cent super chat. Thank you, Ryan. If you have another comment, we will put it up during the show. But moving along, Nicola, who was in the chats for all of the Pewter Game Day show. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Asks, can you guys ask Todd, will he use LinkedIn or Indeed looking for a new job? LOL. Offense finally goes off and the defense can't keep up. That's on coaching. And that's the problem. It's like for a while now, people have said Todd Bowles is not a good coach, not a good coach. And then week in and week out, he makes all of these like really questionable game management decisions. Yeah. Again, keeping all this timeouts at halftime or in the first half, like a lot of different things.
Yeah,
Does he
he's
want
not
to
it.
win? Does he not want to
Ultimately,
win? Yeah.
we've given him a year and some games here, right? And start off 2-0. Okay, start off 2-0 last year. This guy owns the Saints, which is great, but this is now the second winnable game that they could have and should have won, Matt, against a lesser opponent, I think. But after this game, I'm not going to say the Texans were the it was a winnable game, but I don't say that they have less talent. I mean, their talent came to play today. If the Buccaneers do have better talent, it did not come to play today, especially in the secondary. So, yeah, it was awful. Yeah,
And what hurts even more is the freaking Falcons lost today. The Falcons
yeah,
lost. You would have
and the
gained a
Saints
game on
won.
the
Now
Falcons.
the Saints are in the driver's seat now in the NFC South. Although the Bucs do have a win over them, but yeah, it's I don't see how they come out of this, to be honest. I think this is the downward spiral. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
know
trying
they
to be.
say. Yeah, I know I'm with you because I know they say like 24-hour rule, forget about it. But this is like a really tough
Yeah.
game to just wipe off. You
Yeah,
know.
this wasn't the dagger. This was the decapitation. This was the samurai sword, chop off your head loss that I don't know that this team is going to come back from. I mean, if there's a saving grace, it's that did the Buccaneers find out some things that work on offense? I'll remind you that the Houston Texans players, including their kicker, were dropping like flies.
Dare
Right?
Mumbawale, former
Right.
special teams captain of the Buccaneers, hit a extra point, or no, hit
Yeah.
a field goal and did well in the kickoffs.
Yeah, they lost Jimmy Ward. Then they lost MJ Stewart, former Buccaneer. They lost. They didn't have Sheldon Rankins, who was their defensive tackle, didn't play. Then they lost, I believe, another defensive lineman or two. They were like a mash unit, and so the Buccaneers couldn't beat the Texans JV team today. And are you going to beat the Texans next week? Or I mean, the Titans? Are you going to beat the 49ers? Hell no. You're not. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to be realistic. With the way that this team is coached, with the penalties, with the continued busts in the secondary, with veteran players.
Yeah.
I mean,
over and over. Every week there was a bust.
Yeah.
But they practiced great, Scott. I'm sure they had a great practice.
Yep. I know.
Thank you to Blueberry for this $6.98 super chat.
Oh,
and
my
also,
God.
I am so sorry, Blueberry, who says
I want to give you your money back.
The game was at 2 a.m. The game was at 2 a.m. over here in Singapore. I sacrificed a good night's sleep just to see this absolute disaster. Blueberry, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I appreciate you joining us in the comments for this.
Thank you for the Singapore dollar super chat.
Hopefully we can entertain you, but geez, I don't know if you could pay me to stay up to 2 a.m. and know that was going to be the outcome of the game. We'll see with the Jets tomorrow. Jordan Schneiderman, thank you for the $6.99 Canadian super chat. Says, asked you guys weeks ago about how and why they can be so bad in zone after years with the same players. Didn't think it was this bad. Yeah, I mean, this is a recurring theme.
Yeah.
For the Bucs, we've said this for seasons now. And again, at times it feels nitpicky because this defense can be really good. They can limit teams in the red zone for the most part, not today. Yeah. They can create turnovers, but it's been too far and between now with this team. And like the last 2 days or last 2 times we spoke to Todd Bowles, he's like, we're blind in playing zone. We have horrible vision.
That's on you. You're the head coach.
Over and over and over again. He's just like, you guys aren't getting it. You guys aren't getting it. Why aren't you understanding? It's like, all right, well, if the students aren't figuring it out,
then it's the teacher.
You got to mix
at some point
the lesson a little bit.
Yes.
You know, like.
Well, here's the other thing too, and I'm just bringing this up. Okay, how many times have we heard, right? Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, Ian McCollum, whoever, like they're up in Todd Bowles' room watching film.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question I just thought of the other day. Why aren't they in Kevin Ross's room watching film? He's the cornerbacks coach.
That's true.
I'm just saying, it's like this coaching staff has been around for a long time. Kevin Ross, I loved him as a player in Kansas City. I mean, again, it's like, you don't want to just openly criticize guys because they have Super Bowl rings, but at the same time, just like Byron Leftwich last year, we have to call him out. I mean, the Super Bowl ring happened in 2020. This is 2023. What have you done for me lately? Right? I mean, this is new players to a degree, right? I mean, you have some veterans in there too, but these coaches, I don't know. First of all, I don't see how Todd Bowles survives this season, but even if he does, there's got to be some changes to this coaching staff because the players aren't getting better.
No.
Right. I have not seen improvement on the defense. Right. Devin White hasn't gotten any better. Carlton Davis certainly hasn't got any better. Jamel Dean hasn't got any better. Ryan Neal, I guess, wasn't good from the start, but yeah, bad.
Couldn't have said it any better. I don't think I need to add on top of that. Lucas Patisse, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. They might as well bench Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. He gets no pressure. Then, of course, he makes a play on the 2-point conversion, which, again, the Texans were forced to do because their kicker was injured until they realized they had a weapon with Darian Gumbawale. And JTS, to his credit, makes a nice play, interception in the end zone, and then immediately gets a penalty for just chucking the football at the guy that just tackled him. Very odd play, because even if, and I'm sure JTS will say, I wasn't trying to throw it at him. I was just trying to, toss the ball to the right. No player ever, you'll see it if a player scores a touchdown and he'll chuck the ball, to the back wall behind the end zone. No player who gets tackled on the field, in the middle of the field or the red zone or whatever, doesn't even get up and just whips it. He full on was trying to throw it like a play at the plate from center field to the catcher. So
you know what
the hell he was doing.
I didn't mind it. I mean, it was a stupid penalty. I'm not going to excuse it, and I'm not going to condone it. But I will say that was the first time I've seen Joe Tryon-Shoyinka actually get mean and pissed off on the field before.
Some emotion. Yeah.
So I don't know. He's not a good football player. He's an athlete playing football. That's what he is.
Yeah, sadly. Richard Balachin, thank you for the $10 super chat. Don't know what currency that is, but thanks a lot nonetheless.
Pounds, I believe.
Pounds, all right.
Pounds, so, yeah.
Probably pounding the table because of the anger that the Bucs have. Richard says, Bowles said he hasn't been on the wrong side of games like this before.
Oh, yes, he
What
has.
about first Daniel Jones in 2019 or the Seahawks in 2019 or the Browns in 22 or the Steelers in 22 or every game versus the Rams has to go. Yeah, I think he means in terms of the crazy shootout and the fact that the last score came with 46 seconds for the Bucs.
Yeah.
And then that last play right there at 6 seconds. One of the worst losses again, Todd Bowles era, arguably the worst loss. Yeah. Maybe the Browns one may have been a little bit worse.
I've covered this team 28 years, and this is up there, man. This is a top 10 loss. I don't know where in the top 10 I'd have to go through and rank them, right? It's obviously not, as catastrophic as the 99 loss to the Rams in the NFC Championship game or the Rams loss, or the loss to the Rams in the playoff game in 2021. You started those two, but you've got 8 more slots to fill out. Yeah. And this is in there somewhere. I'd have to rank them, but it's in there. It's bad. This was an awful loss.
Trustin Vorbeck, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. When it was impossible for them to win, Bowles found a way to let them do a, quote, Brady and pull it off. Bowles is officially on the hot seat. There's no question. He has to be on the hot seat. I mean, again, he's been a head coach before, and it didn't work out for a number of reasons. Last season, I don't even know if it's a pass-fail because he obviously made the playoffs but had a losing record. Again, you could argue maybe they win that last game of the season, blah, blah, blah. Nonetheless, he's regressed with still the same level of players on defense.
Yeah.
He regressed with having Tom Brady as your quarterback.
Yeah.
And the team hasn't won in a month. They've regressed this season, going from 3-1 to now losing 4 games in a row. They probably don't even remember what winning feels like because it's been so long.
It's been a long time. And he's on the hot seat. Again, I'm just going to tell you historically, right? The Glazers have never fired a coach in season, right? They didn't fire Lovie Smith during his 2-14 season. They didn't fire him after the collapse of the Capitol midway through, or I should say it's probably the first third of the season in the 2015 year, which was the second year. They didn't fire Raheem Morris as the team lost, I want to say, 10 straight games after a 4-1 start. So they didn't fire Greg Schiano when it was pretty much apparent it was going to be over by the end, or by the halfway point of the season. So if they do fire Todd Bowles in season, that would be a first for the Glazers. Sometimes you get a little bit of life with an interim head coach, whether it be Harold Goodwin, whether it be Larry Foote stepping in,
Yeah.
whoever would be the interim head coach, probably Harold Goodwin, because he's the assistant head coach now. But Matt, you know what? Maybe you want to let him kind of die on the vine a little bit and tank, not on purpose, but like it's going to happen, right? And just kind of go through the pain and the suffering. And as the losses pile up, I mean, coming into this game, Matt, the Bucs had the 13th overall draft pick. Now they're in the top 10, right? So you almost like with Raheem Morris, you just let the suffering continue to the very end. They lost 10 straight games to bottom out, and maybe you do the same thing with Todd Bowles to try to get a quarterback. It's such a crapshoot, man, to get a quarterback. But you know what? If you nail it, if you get a CJ Stroud, then you see what can happen. The Titans or the Texans are now 4-4 on the year.
Yeah. I think what is really tricky about it, and maybe some of this is inspired because I have the Raiders-Giants game on, or Red Zone on in the background.
Yeah.
The Raiders are up 14-0 after just canning their coach and GM.
Mm-hmm.
I think the tricky thing is, like, I could totally see if it goes the way that it's going to continue to keep going, I could see them firing Bowles like, week 17. And so Goodwin gets to coach week 18 when it doesn't matter in a meaningless game against the Panthers, or maybe the week before that. The tricky thing is that, again, even with the Falcons losing today, even though the Saints won, they're still kind of in it. So there is something to be said about, like, maybe Bowles should kind of go out on a shield, as they say, where you still give them the opportunity,
give them the chance, right,
to make
turn
it
it
bounce
around.
back.
But we know what's not going to happen, right? That's the thing. We don't
exactly, and that's where you have no problem firing him in week 16, 17, 18 because you already gave him that opportunity and he didn't come back to it. On the flip side, if they lose to the Titans next week and the 49ers the week after that, but in some crazy scenario, the Falcons lose 2 out of their next 3 and the Saints lose 2 out of their next 3, the Bucs would still be 2 games out of the playoffs, still playing the Saints and the Falcons again with the opportunity to get back into it. That's where you go, oh, well, if you fire Bowles now and you got that, Rich Bisaccia resurgence that the Raiders got a couple seasons ago when you bring in the interim, or maybe Antonio Pierce will do it now. That's the other side of it. So you're almost in an odd way waiting to see what the Falcons and the Saints do over the next 2 weeks. And you hope in the meantime they figure it out and they beat the Titans or upset the 49ers one way or another. So that's kind of the weird way to look at it, but that's kind of where the Bucs are at the moment. Ryan Finneran, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. As a Marine, thank you very much for your service. Ryan says, as a Marine, this is the worst salute to service month ever. Only thing that would make it better is a Todd Bowles firing this week. Appreciate the comment, Ryan. Awesome comment. Sorry that the Bucs did not win for you. It's been on the Monday mailbag for a couple of times, but it's going to be even louder and louder now with Todd Bowles coaching up a stinker. He said clunker a couple of weeks ago. This was a stinker. This was vomit-inducing defense.
It was bad all the way around. But you know what's not bad, Matt? It's the tasty energy drink that we love here at Pewter Report.
Even when the Bucs play terribly, Celsius can keep me going. There is no sugar. There's no post-energy drink crash or jitters that you may get with another product out there. There's so many awesome flavors. Arctic 5 is my favorite. Like the sparkling orange, sparkling watermelon, peach vibe. Strawberry lemonade is one of my favorites. So there's all great flavors. If you need to know where to find one, go to the Celsius store locator, punch in your address, and it'll tell you the closest geographical location where you can pick one up. Be at your local Walmart, Target, 7-Eleven, health and fitness store, or your bodega. And once you keep going to your bodega and you know you love Celsius and you want more, that's when you go to the Celsius. You go and buy Celsius on Amazon. Do the subscribe and save. You can get it in bulk. I'd recommend getting that variety pack because variety is the spice of life. Have it sent to your residence whenever you want. It could be a week, month, quarterly, yearly. You're in charge. You're the captain now. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks. Celsius, the official sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast, make Celsius your number one pick. All right, we have a ton of super chats to continue to get
Yes.
to. Thank you to all the Pewter people. We really appreciate you. As Richard Taroka with the $1.99 super chat says, Bowles bested by a rookie offensive coordinator, inexcusable.
Yeah.
Bowles been getting bested a lot lately, whether it's rookie quarterbacks, young quarterbacks. It's become a little bit of a trend now, unfortunately. So that's where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. I wrote about it in my SR's Fab Five. This is going to be a stretch. You're going to be facing a lot of rookie and backup quarterbacks, a lot of winnable games here. And if Todd Bowles can't win, there's no excuses, right? I mean, it's on him. So it's on him. This is on him. He has to own it, and it's games like this that will ultimately get him fired. If not tomorrow, later in the year. It's going to happen because I don't see the necessary changes. We've talked, Matt, you and I have talked about on the Pewter Report podcast, Pewter People. You've mentioned it in the comments. We see it on your article comments on our stories about Ryan Neal. It has taken him so long to replace Ryan Neal, who is a touchdown giver to opponents.
He loves the holidays.
He loves it. It's here. Have a free touchdown. I mean, touchdowns are on sale today. Matter of fact, they're free. Here, you take one. That's just how it is. And so for him to wait this long to put D. Delaney in, it was just like last year, Matt, with Luke Gedeke, right? He waited too long. I mean, I know he's the defensive play caller, but he's also the head coach. At any point in time, it's his roster. He gets to say, you need to bench Luke Gedeke here, Byron, and we're going to put in Nick Leverett, right, for the Steelers game. And it just these waiting, and it's the stubbornness that it's cost him.
Appreciate T with this $5 super chat who says, thanks to us, the league will never have to see Leftwich or Bowles as a head coach. We deserve compensatory picks for the bullets we keep taking. I mean, listen, Byron Leftwich is not coaching anywhere.
Correct.
At the moment. Bowles is kind of lucky that Josh McDaniel just got fired because all the attention is on the Raiders. But outside of Ron Rivera, Bowles is probably the next closest guy on the hot seat at the moment across the NFL. I could be missing someone at the moment. And unfortunately, I feel bad, but Bowles will probably never get a head coaching opportunity again.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is there's something to be said, and I'm a defensive minded guy, but there's something to be said about defensive minded head coaches too. You have Matt Eberflus, right? Who's probably he's going to get canned in Chicago. You got Ron Rivera. He's going to get canned in Washington. I know, the Commodes won today, but it's not going to last long. So
they beat New England.
Yeah, they beat New England, right? And I mean, they're going to finish at best third in the NFC South behind either Philadelphia or Dallas, or both, obviously. But one of those teams, either the Eagles or the Cowboys, will win their division. So, not good.
Yeah, only D'Amico Ryans the only guy standing up for for defensive
That's right.
coach. Sure ain't Belichick.
Nope.
Yeah, Tony with the $4.99 super chat. We know it's over for Bowles, but does Light get another shot to hire another head coach? Great coverage as always, guys. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, a couple things on that. I think he will, unless the Glazers go out and hire, somebody that will want his own general manager. And the only name I can think of is someone like a Jim Harbaugh, right?
Yeah.
Where if he were to make the leap from Michigan, to the NFL, and I don't recommend that. I know he's had some success, right, in the NFL before, but I don't know that he would be the right guy. I don't know. There's a lot of scandal and stuff happening on his team right now in Michigan. I don't know if the Glazers want to get involved in that type of situation. I'm not saying he can't coach. I'm just saying, is he the right guy for this team right now? I don't know. Coming off that scandal, I'm not sure. Having said that, Jason Light and the Glazers they had to make a deal with Bruce Arians, right? When Bruce Arians decided to retire, he is part of it. And Rick Stroud believes this, and I'm kind of believing it too. It seems like Bruce was kind of forced out. It kind of does. And how much of that had to do with Tom Brady? Probably a lot. And I don't know this to be fact, and I don't want to put words in Rick's mouth, but it seems like that's kind of what happened. And so, Bruce, hey, we're going to make some changes here. Tom, wants to come back, but, we're going to go in a different direction. And you get to pick the head coach and we'll put you in the Ring of Honor. It seems like that's kind of the way it happened because, Matt, we were at the NFL owners meeting. March 30th, Bruce Arians decides to abruptly retire. It just, I don't know. And
the only thing,
then he handpicks his successor in Todd Bowles. And Jason Light signed off on it. Yes, the Lazier signed off on it, but it wasn't like Jason Light went out and did a coaching search and said, we're going to hire this guy. It's kind of like what it was with Dirk Cutter when Lovie Smith got fired. They promoted the offensive coordinator from within.
The only thing I question about that is, and like, it does kind of add up. The timeline very much adds up as well. But like, and Bruce is a classy guy. He's a respectable guy, of course. But Bruce also speaks his mind a ton.
Yeah.
Why would he be so honky-dory, easygoing with like, oh, yeah, there's no beef between me and Tom. Like, we just went golfing last week and all that type of stuff. Like,
I don't know.
I don't think Bruce would be fooled that easily.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a conversation for the offseason. More drama to get to. Thank you to Desert Dog for the 2K, Desert Dog 2K. Thanks for the $5 super chat. The mantra has been win the winnables. Now they are losing winnable games.
Yep.
It will be a 7-game losing streak when the Panthers arrive December 3rd.
Ugh. Could be.
7-game losing streak. It could be. I mean, they're at 4. Will Levis has looked pretty good. San Fran would be 6. Yeah, I mean, things are not good. We called this a must-win game.
That's
a must-win game, and they could have won.
They lost it. Yep.
And they could have won. They lost with 46 seconds to go. Unbelievable.
And here's the thing, Matt. It would have counted, but boy, they would not have gotten off the hook with a 37-33 win.
Right. It'd be like Bucs survive. Play like shit again. Yeah.
Exactly. So having said all that, if you go back and look at Raheem Morris's 2011 season, they actually were 4-2, and then they lost to the Bears. Then they had the bye week. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight losses to end that year. That's what I had to endure in 2011. That's combat pay, folks, right there.
Bucks Basement, thanks for the $4.99 super chat. I'm so happy, especially with the way we lost. It was a Todd Bowles specialty. Sorry. This loss is entirely on his horrendous clock management. Fire him soon. I mean, you certainly can't blame the offense. The offense scored 30 points for the first time this season, for the first time in the Dave Canales era. And sure, there were times that still make you want to go nuts about the offense with certain run plays and certain just awful 3-and-outs. But again, 37 points you should win every single time, especially with Todd Bowles, who prides himself on a defensive play caller and things of that nature. But remember when Todd said that it won't snowball? Well, guess what, Todd? I know you live in Florida, but there's a giant snowball heading right at you. And the organization because
So I want to correct something that I said earlier because I wasn't sure. I went back and looked. The Buccaneers did use their third timeout with 49 seconds left to preserve that. I thought it was 39, but I guess what happened was they took the 10 seconds off. Then because of the timeout, they put the 10 seconds back on. So the Buccaneers, because that play, the touchdown pass, or actually this was the Trey Palmer play. The Trey Palmer play where he fumbled it, Mike Evans recovered at the 14-yard line. That play started at 53 seconds. I have a hard time thinking that play lasted 4 seconds, though. Matt, that doesn't seem right. From 53 seconds, you're in shotgun. Yeah, I'm looking at this now. I've got to go back and look at the actual game itself, but I'm looking at like the plays on the NFL website, and it says Tampa Bay timeout number 3 at 49 seconds. But there's no way that happened. I think there was a clock mismanagement issue, and I'll go back and look at this, and we'll figure this out by tomorrow's podcast. But
all right, the game is under protest.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, there's no way that all of that happened in 4 seconds, right? And that it just didn't. So I think that there was an official error there.
Matthew, great name. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Says this team has quit on Bowles. They did after the Atlanta loss after the bye week at our house to Ritter. This is icing on the cake. Bowles must go. We will not. I think this game was the first sign of I wouldn't even say quitting, just like truly pouting when things aren't going your way. Because like that Bills game, they were down 24-10, and they could have easily just kind of packed it in and went home, and they kept fighting. So I don't think the team has necessarily quit on each other. I think it's easy for someone, even though he's a team leader and a team captain, but Mike Evans to be like, F it, let me get my 1,000 yards and then I'm out of here, regardless of what any other team wants to pay me, because Mike just wants to win. And we're kind of heading towards like a rebuild. And honestly, do you really need two $20 million receivers when you don't get either of them involved until late in the game? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what are they paying Chris Godwin $20 million for? What did Chris Godwin do would have an impact on this game?
Right. I mean, the points are great. I don't want to knock because they've been hard to come by. 37 points by this offense was great.
Yes.
73 yards rushing by Rachaad White, 2 touchdowns. That was certainly a huge step in the right direction. When you factor in his 46 yards in receiving, he's now gone over 100 total yards again for the second week in a row. Cade Otton has decided to play football this year. 6 catches, 70 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Stepped up in a big way. Started the game with the 24-yard catch.
Yes.
At the same time, Mike Evans, 4 receptions, 87 yards. Longest was the 53-yarder, obviously. Chris Godwin, as you mentioned, Matt, 2 catches for 16 yards. And I just don't think that with Evans only being targeted 5 times, Godwin being targeted 6, but to have 6 catches between those two, it does not seem nearly as productive as this offense needs to be.
No. Meets McGee, thank you to Meets McGee, says $5 super chat. The downward spiral happened after the Falcons debacle. I had expected the offense to get better. What I didn't expect, the defense crapped the bed. Yeah, I mean, if you got the Bucs defense, if you got the Bucs defense literally any other week of the season, how they played, the Bucs win this game, and you feel pretty good about, all right, well, the offense has figured it out. The defense is playing well. This team can do things, but nope, the defense looked horribly worse. And like, I don't know. I don't really expect the Bucs offense to do this every single week. Like, have they turned a corner, or did they just have a good situation where everyone on the Texans got injured? I think that has to be factored in. Yeah.
And here's the thing too, Matt. Tampa Bay's defense, for what it's worth, in every single game leading up to this one, had held their opponents to below their scoring average for the season, right? The Philadelphia Eagles, the Lions, they held them under their average. This was not the case today. The Texans came in averaging, I want to say, 21 points per game. They allowed almost double that, 39 points. And it would have been, if they would have had an extra point, kicker today, they would have had over a double, but just absolutely awful defense today. And it's unforgivable.
Moving on, because we still have a ton of super chats left.
Thank you guys. Holy smokes. You guys are great.
Thank you guys so much. Sorry the Bucs didn't play well, but thank you for the super chat. Scott Jacks, $9.99, says, Baker's doing exactly what we asked of him. Protect the ball. We get frustrated with him not ripping it. After today, he's a top 13 quarterback. Gents, how do we fix this? I'm out of ideas. Love your take. Yeah, Baker's playing exactly like a quarterback that is getting paid $4 million this season. Baker is not the main reason why the Buccaneers are losing, especially in a game, again, where they scored 37 points. And I don't know, like, for this game specifically, what else do you want to ask Baker to do? He scored the game-winning touchdown, throwing it to Cade Otton with 46 seconds to go. Baker did his job. And I'm not calling you out, Scott, because you're lining it up. Yep. What can this offense do? I mean, they ran the ball better. They got to continuously run the ball. If they get production still from Cade Otton, that's another weapon in the passing game that's been few and far between. I don't know. They need to develop a lot of their young skill position players, clearly, because like Trey Palmer plays 80% of the snaps and then doesn't do anything until late in the game where he fumbled and almost cost
3
the game.
catches, 51 yards for him. Devin Tompkins,
nowhere
nothing.
To be found again.
Raheem Jarrett,
nowhere to be
nothing.
found again.
Yeah.
So
if there's a place where Baker maybe can improve, it's third down, right? The Bucs were 3 of 13. Ironically, let me just ask you, Matt, what would you guess the Houston Texans' third down percentage was, knowing that the Bucs have the absolute worst third down defense and have allowed 50% this year on third downs? What would you guess the third down percentage?
Well, let's see. They had a third and 14, and they had a third and 11 today. They did get off the field a couple times. I'm gonna say 56%.
The Bucs defense was actually 3 of 11 on third down. They actually did a much better job on third down, but it didn't seem like it did.
It was just the third and longs that they kept screwing up.
Exactly, but it was they allowed just 27% on third down, but it seemed a lot worse than that, right? And I think it seemed a lot worse than that because the Texans were getting a lot of chunk plays, right? We saw the 75-yarder, obviously a 26-yarder, 29-yarder, 23-yarder. So Stroud was dealing a lot of intermediate shots and converting, picking up more first downs on second down and kind of avoiding third downs. And I don't know, but at the end of the day, that's kind of a misleading stat because it didn't matter. Third down defense didn't matter when you give up 496 yards total and 39 points. Stats are for
like
losers,
the Noah Brown touchdown. That was the first play of the drive, so they didn't get to a third down. You just allowed it right away.
Exactly.
Thanks to T for this $10 super chat. Scott, you brought up one of the many red flags of Bowles I don't hear mentioned. Is it accurate to say Bowles has yet to produce a coaching tree, even after the Super Bowl? No one picked from our defensive staff.
Well, actually, there was one. Mike Caldwell.
Yeah.
He went to the Jaguars and became their defensive coordinator. But that's the only one. I mean, Nick Rapone's not going to be the safeties coach. That was Todd Bowles' safeties coach back at Temple. Okay,
Nick Rapone's he's like 75 years old. Nick Rapone, The alarm's going off in my condo or apartment.
All right.
Anyway, Jeff the Champ. I'll mute myself.
Yeah, Jeff the Champ, 499. I was on board with y'all's predictions last week, but now this team will be lucky to win 5 games. Thoughts? Yeah, I agree. I think that 5 wins. I mean, this team had to get 6 and 4 out of the last 10 games to get to 9 and 8, and I just don't see that happening now. Now you've lost 2 winnable games, right? You've lost to Atlanta, you've lost to Houston. Where are you going to pick up those wins to help get you to 9 wins? Now I just don't see it.
I'm just remembering, our PR roundtable this week was revised. Revised records, and I improved the Bucs after losing 3 in a row. I improved them to 9 and 8 after my initial 8 and 9. Well, I look and sound like a moron right now. But thank you to Jeff for the super chat.
Yep.
Edwin Mill 83 999 says, I took tour of Bucs facilities yesterday. That's cool. We get to the locker room, and lo and behold, there is one locker with a very special, unique chair. Why is Devin White afforded so much special treatment? I don't know about special treatment, outside of just on the field stuff, but him and Todd Bowles have a very close relationship. So.
Yeah, he's not going to be back next year. He played better today. I'll give him his credit. He had a sack. He looked a little bit more involved, but like on that Nico Collins 17-yard screen on 3rd and 14, whatever it was, he looked like he was just like waiting for someone else to make the play when he was right there and could have. It just didn't.
Trustin Vorbeck says, Todd won't own it. He will say, we did have a good week of practice. This guy's silence kills me. I can't with this guy. Yeah. Drink every time he says someone had a good practice.
We understand that.
We understand that, and they have a lot of heady players.
Yeah.
Ryan Finneran. Thank you, Ryan. I'll be at the Tennessee game in my Mike Allstott salute to service jersey next Sunday. So awesome. I know you guys will be working, but I'd love to take a pregame shot. We'll need it and chase it with a Celsius. Absolutely do it up. It's a great mixer with liquor as well.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Ryan. I hope you have an awesome time. Hope the Bucs bring you a win because, again, they're still in this divisional race despite losing 4 in a row. But thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Kathy Gillespie with the $4.99 super chat. Thanks, Kathy. Why are you guys so down on Mayfield? He's such a team guy, and it saddens me to think that he and Canales will be thrown out to the Bulls with bathwater. I think we're not like crazy down on Baker. We
Right.
just kind of realize he's an average quarterback that can win you games with good talent.
Yeah.
But he's not going to have a CJ Stroud game.
No, he's not. Yeah. And that's kind of part of the problem, because you're going to need some of those CJ Stroud type moments
Yeah.
in the season, right? If you look at Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, they're typically not the Rex Grossman types, right? Yes, they won with Brad Johnson back in 2002, but that was with a all-star Hall of Fame defense, right? That had 4 Hall of Famers on it and probably a 5th in Simeon Rice.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often. And I only see 3 Hall of Famers on this defense, or on the defense, on this team right now. Mike Evans is one. Tristan Wirfs, if he stays healthy and continues on his trajectory, although he didn't have a great game today, I don't think. And then maybe Levante David has the numbers. He won't get in, but I think he's a Hall of Fame caliber player, but he won't get in the Hall of Fame. But you have to have a quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, those were the last 2 quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. And
Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford.
Yeah, the game was decided by 3 points, right? 38-35. And every once in a while you have a Nick Foles that has a magical season in there, but it's you got to have a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and he's just not it.
You do. Thank you to Josu Ortiz for the $1.99 super chat. Pewter Crew, $5, says same shit, different weekend. Nothing changes or will change under Bowles gone. Light needs to step in and make Bowles make a change. It does feel like we are just watching the same stuff again and again and again and again. SRS Salt Video, $9.99, says the rest, and thank you, the rest of the 2023 needs to be about nothing but player, coaching, GM, and contract evaluation. The $80 million David Dean contracts are clearly huge overpays. Bowles has not shown he's capable as an NFL.
I think he means Davis, because Levante's not making that much. Levante deserves the money Carlton is making this year. But yeah, I would envision either Carlton or Dean, probably one of those cornerbacks, going next year is my guess.
Yeah. Josu Ortiz with another super chat. Thank you. Says, what do you make of Stroud systematically dissecting our secondary defense throw after throw? No pass rush.
Yep.
No
coverage.
Zone. Soft ass zone.
Yep.
T with another $10 super chat. Thank you, T. Says, my fear is we make the playoffs in a crappy division, so Bowles gets another year. Need Glazer's light to have some conviction to the obvious.
Yep.
Bowles is not it. Arians' family tree is over. Time to move on.
Yeah. And again, I'll remind you, Tony Dungy was fired after making the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Back in 2001. John Gruden was fired after going 9-7 and just missing the playoffs. So the Glazers have fired their 2 best coaches ever after winning seasons. Yeah. So I just don't see how Todd Bowles will be here next year.
And this goes back to a question we answered in the offseason of if the Bucs go 8-9, would the Bucs keep Todd Bowles? And our response was, well, it depends how they got to that 8-9.
Right.
Did they start out crappy and then got it together?
Yeah, they have a bunch of injuries and overcame them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nope. They started out great at 3-1. They've now lost 4 in a row. That is not going to help you if you go 8-9. Meets McGee, I don't want us to turn back into a losing franchise again. We need stability. I do not have an issue with light. Bad teams change coaches constantly.
Mm-hmm.
But you could change Bowles and get in an offensive coordinator. You pair that with, I know the dream is Caleb Williams and whatever his name. Yeah. Or the head coach that he has, Lincoln Riley. I'm not saying they should do that, but you pair a quarterback with an offensive coordinator that will run the offense that's best to the quarterback.
Right.
Sounds kind of nice right now. Maybe Shedeur Sanders. Someone said before, Shedeur Sanders, get the stadium packed again because, the Dion effect and everything. Anyway, we got a super chat from That's Why You're Dead. Thank you. That's Why You're Dead, who says, quit making excuses and say how good CJ Stroud played.
He played fantastic.
He played awesome. What do you have, 5 touchdowns, 475 passing yards? We've said
470, yes. The all-time NFL rookie record, yes. I mean, 147.8 quarterback rating. It's perfect. That's the perfect quarterback rating, I believe.
Fantastic. Let's also remember, this is a Buccaneers podcast, so we're going to slant a little bit more towards what went wrong with the Bucs than how great CJ Stroud was.
Exactly.
CJ Stroud was awesome.
You watched the game?
Yeah, really fun watching him, but CJ Stroud is not going to lead our most impressive story today.
Exactly.
Not. Football fan 999, thank you, says The Glazers need to decide what is best for the team. Bowles continue to stay the same thing week after week. At what point do you say enough is enough? I think after the 49ers game, if they lose against Houston and they lose against the 49ers, I wouldn't be shocked if they fired him then.
Yeah, I think once they're almost mathematically out of it, and it could happen very, very quickly. Depends on what happens, as you said, Matt, earlier, what happens in the NFC South. But again, I'll just say this: the Glazers can always change their mind. They're the owners, but they've yet to fire a coach. Even when Raheem Morris was in the throes of a 10-game losing streak in his final year, they didn't fire him until the very end. So,
Shaggy, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, first time this season, I really feel let down by the defense. Got to get back on track. So that I agree with. I mean, the defense has kept them in so many games. I don't think they should all be thrown across. Bowles deserves blame. Carlton had a shitty game. It is what it is. I expect him to bounce back at some point. Richard Blatchin says, do you think that Mike is more or less likely to stay if when Bowles is gone? I can see him wanting to win somewhere. I think the worse they play, the further Mike is out the door.
It depends on who the offensive coordinator is going to be and who the quarterback is going to be next year. I think that those are two things Mike wants to know for sure.
Craig Kurtzman, $4.99 super chat says, the defense is awful. Look at Carolina last week versus Stroud. What is the value of keeping Todd any longer? Give Goodwin a chance, and if not, clean house. Again, they're still relatively in the running to win their division, so it's tough to cut bait right away, even though 4 straight losses, you would have reason to. Waiter with the $4.99 super chat says, even though Stroud had a historic day, the Bucs had no pass rush and no coverage, had all day to throw. Bowles says we need to execute every week. Yeah, I think it's no surprise that Kalijah Cansey had one of the first sacks of the game, and Shaq knocked the ball out. I don't even know if he would have been able to tackle C.J. Stroud, but he knocked the ball out, so it counts.
Only 3 sacks. So, and I thought C.J. Stroud did well with pressure too. I thought that he really did well to handle the pressure. Would there be any Eric Colson with the $9.99 super chat? Would there be any possible way that the Bucs would go for Todd Monken? He's done wonders for Jackson in the offense. Yeah, I think he's under consideration. Sure, why not?
For a head coach,
For a head coach,
so. Whew. Yeah. Well, those super chats were fantastic. I mean, we appreciate you guys. A lot of great questions and stuff too, and just letting the anger out. I get it.
I know.
Todd Bowles did not do a good job. That's why tomorrow's show, the question.
Well, I was going to say real quick, the one person who does do a good job, though, to your point, is Eric Gross and the Eric Gross Group. That's right. It takes a full team effort to win a football game, and it takes a full team effort to win in real estate. Eric Gross Group will not let you down like your Tampa Bay team will sometimes. He has done hundreds of transactions in this crazy real estate market, and he knows how to win in real estate, whether it's buying or selling your house. So you're going to want to visit housesinfla.com. Housesinfla.com. Let him take the pressure off of buying or selling a home in this crazy real estate market. Their clients are not just transactions, they're lifelong friendships. Go to housesinfla.com. Give Eric a call at 513-907-4271. He's a Pewter Report reader. He's a Tampa Bay native. He knows the market. He will help you win. He won't let you down like you were let down today.
And tomorrow's show will be all about Todd Bowles. We'll speak to Todd again tomorrow with a little more Tampa Bay media there. I think only Rick Stroud and Jenna Lane were in Houston. So more Tampa media tomorrow. Todd Bowles on the hot seat. We'll see everything that Todd has to say. And, of course, in the meantime, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. We are at Pewter Report. Got a lot of post-game coverage. Of course, our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV, where we have this podcast 4 times a week, various clips, Pewter Picks and Props, Pewter Pulse, a lot of great different stuff, great different content. But that's going to do it for us for tonight's game. Sorry again that the Bucs lost. We'll talk more about it tomorrow because there's still a lot more drama, regardless of wins and losses, that will come up with the Buccaneers. But that's going to do it for us this evening. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.
Out. Love you, Pewter people. Thank you.